The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Wendy. I'm the Director of Communications for WISPA. So welcome to today's webinar, Increased Broadband Revenue with Affordable Hosted Streaming TV, presented by Intracom Telecom. Today, we're going to be hearing from Intracom's Derek Kaminski and Dave Hunt, as well as one of their clients, Dave Sill of Socket Telecom. So I want to get to some very brief housekeeping before we jump right in. We're just going to jump right into this. We're going to go through the presentations first. So there's 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes or so, maybe a little longer of the presentation. And we're going to hold questions to the end. And how you ask questions is use the question function of the platform. Type those in, and time permitting, which there should be, I'll read those back to the panelist to get answers. So again, thank you for your attendance today, and let's get started. Go ahead, Derek.
Thank you, Mike. And first of all, thank you everyone for your time. We know your time is very valuable, so we appreciate you dialing in to see what we can offer to you to help improve your subscribers' broadband experience. So instead of presenting slides, we're going to start out with some live video. So this is actually the live feed coming from Socket TV, one of our customers and Dave Sill is on. He's going to present why he went with Intracom Telecom and our solution. So this is actually, I have a Fire Stick connected to my laptop, and the live feed is coming from Missouri, and this is the Socket TV app. So just pressing one button on the Fire Stick remote, I can bring up my channel list here on the left side. Pressing one button again, I can filter through my favorites. So I created a favorites list called WISPA, and so I've selected, I think, at least some of my favorite channels. So it's easy to change channels this way. You can just select it here. And I can also bring up the full screen guide from the main menu coming this way. So if I select guide, so we have a traditional grid guide. And we also have another guide option that the user can select. And I'll show you that. Well, first let me show you, while I'm in here, I'm going to show you how to record. So if I want to record the expendables, I just select it, select the option to record, and action succeeded. So we also have, if you select something that has multiple episodes, if I select record, now I can choose between selecting this episode or all episodes. And if I select all, how many do I want to keep? I can keep new only. I can remember my preferences for next time. So that's recording one episode and recording all episodes. So you do that. You can do that from the guide or from full screen live video, and I can show you that as well. And while I'm in this view, I can actually pause the scaled video in the top corner, resume play, and do trick modes while you're in the grid guide. So if while I'm in this guide, let me show you what else we have here. So catch up is going back in time. So it's configurable how many days you go back in time, how many days are cached. So if I go back in time, now I'm in catch up mode. If I want to view or record Mountain Men, so I can just view or record it or auto tune it. It's just like a reminder timer. So if I go back to full screen, and I mentioned changing the guide view. Here's where my recordings are stored. This is a list of options available for restarting TV, all the different channels for the currently airing program. If I go back to, let me just go run through these. So weather, this is weather coming from Missouri, live feed, all the different cities in Missouri. And search options. So under settings, this is where I create my favorites, set up my parental controls. Accounts, I can set up multiple users here. So I've only got one user defined, but this is where you'd create new users, profiles. If I go to advanced, I select my guide. So we have we have logging and speed tests. So these are things you probably would hide from your subs. This is more of like a troubleshooting features that we have. I go to guide type. So we let the user pick which view they want. So instead of classic, we have a new option. So if I select that and go back to guide. So for folks that may need bigger fonts, bigger logos, this is another view. We remove the scaled video in the upper corner, but some of your subs may prefer this. I just wanted to reference the speed. I think our user interface is very snappy, very quick. Channel change speeds are 2 seconds very consistently. If I go back to full screen, even on this side here, so it's very quick, you'll see. So I think we do a very good job of not obstructing the live video in both views, right? So we've got, you still have the live video in the background in both cases. So if I go into, also when I pause TV, we don't obstruct the video. So if you're watching a football game, you can see if the guy's foot was really in or out. You don't have to remove any banners on the bottom of the screen. If I want to additional options while I'm watching live TV, I just press the center button on the remote and fast forward rewind. So if I rewind, very snappy. And if I fast forward back to live, we give an indication on the bottom of the screen. See, I'm at the live point again. So there's no confusion if you're in, in time shift mode or back at live TV. If I go to these other options, so on the Fire Stick remote, we present the option to tune a channel this way because Amazon does not let us use voice commands with the remote, whereas on the Android product, I can use voice commands, and that's fully it's fully deployed on our Android offering, where you can do voice commands like changing channels, bringing up the guide, the record function. That's all built in. But so on the Fire Stick, this is kind of the workaround, is to present the tune the channels by the keypad. If I go, so I can record, like I mentioned from here, this is starting over the program. So start over is another premium feature where if I choose that, so it starts over the live program from the beginning. And again, I can fast forward this way or choose jump back to live. So now I'm back at the live point. And again, EPG is bringing up the grid, closed captioning. So when I turn on closed captioning, it's persistent across channel change. So you don't have to worry about that. Setting set it once and forget it. And this is the option to bring up diags. So I can actually bring up what is the current bit rate that we're getting from the source. So this is another troubleshooting tool that we have. And let me go, while I'm in this view, so if I arrow down, we have different rows of content. What's airing now, what's trending, and last watch. So the order of these rows are configurable. So if you want to put last watch channels up top, you could do that. We could make it the top row. So it's maybe a little bit easier to get to. So within our UI, things are many things are configurable. The placement, of course, we can change the background colors, but there's many things that we can configure per head end. So let's see. Dave, what else am I missing? I think I covered most of the features, the main features.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job as an overview, and we can always, if people wish, go back to it to answer any specific questions. One thing that's worthwhile noting, just as a highlight, is what you're watching is a signal, which is a pretty decent signal coming from socket, but it's coming for purposes across the internet to our intranet from there on our LAN to a Fire Stick through a capture card onto the laptop. So although it's live, it is a substantially processed. So if you're seeing jitter, if you're seeing any of that, you're actually seeing the consequence of so many devices being placed between the actual signal and what you're seeing.
Good point, Dave. I should have mentioned that up front. So going through the capture card, the focus of this demo is really to show you the UI features, right? Which hopefully you will agree. I think our app is very easy to use, very intuitive, very snappy. Changing channels is 2 seconds or less. So with that, maybe we'll switch over. We can always come back to the demo if we have questions later. But for now, I'm going to exit out and we'll start we don't have that many slides. So we'll be, the most important part, I think, of our slide presentation is actually hearing from Dave Sill at Socket TV and his experience of why he chose us, this solution, and what his experience has been like. So let me close out of here. Okay. Can everyone see my slides full screen?
Yes, looks good.
Okay. All right, good. All right, so just a brief overview of who Intracom Telecom is. So our global headquarters is in Athens, Greece, but our North American headquarters is in the Atlanta office. That's where myself and Dave Hunt are. So our focus is on IPTV and wireless. I mean, for today, it's just IPTV, but we'll be at the booth at WISPAPalooza. So we invite all you folks to attend, where you can see these demos again. You can try it yourself, and you'll get the full details on our wireless solutions as well. So been around a long time in the US, 66 years, and over 1,700 employees, 70 countries. And one of the concerns on the next, perceived concerns on the next slide is stability for IPTV solutions. Well, we've been deployed with over 100 North American customers, and we've got multiple new projects launching this year. So bottom of the screen, you see the core offerings for Intracom Telecom. Today, we're focusing within the telco enterprise software solutions. But please stop by WISPAPalooza to get all the details on wireless as well. And you see out there all the markets we serve, numerous markets. So these are some of the concerns we've heard, the top 4. So I mentioned instability. Well, we've got 100 very happy customers. Our first multicast deployments were back in 2004. A lot of those are migrated to the streaming solution. And so that's the focus of today's presentation, is the streaming solution. Operational complexity. So we're offering a fully hosted solution to take away all of your operational concerns. We'll train you how to use our content management and subscriber management tool. But once we help you set up the initial channel lineups, you're free to make edits to the channel lineups, the subscriber packages. But everything is provisioned from our head-end management tool that runs in the cloud, fully hosted. And we'll train you on how to use that. But rest assured, most of the operational maintenance is done by us. Video app ease of use. So hopefully you agree that the app demo that I showed you is very intuitive, looks very easy to use. And if you stop by our booth at WISPAPalooza, you can try it yourself. And actually, we can, if you reach out to myself or Dave Hunt after the webinar, we can set you up with your own login, so you could try it on your own couch. So you can download the Fire TV app from Amazon, and of course, we've got the Android version on Google. It runs on mobile devices, so all of the most popular devices you can think of, Android, iOS, mobiles. We're even going to have it on our roadmap here in the near term on smart TVs, Samsung and LG. It runs on all the major managed Android set-top boxes. So think Kion, Amino, other folks like that. Yeah, and I think finally, so why offer video? We hear a lot that you can't make money with video, but so we've got Dave Sill on from Socket TV that will address that concern and his journey of why he went with streaming. Okay, broadband is key. It's it's king, right? But it faces challenges, right? Revenue per bit is declining. Many Americans will say that their internet is too expensive. What are the top reasons? You see there on the right: cost, quality of speed. And I personally, I've experienced both the top two, wanting to change for getting something that's cheaper and faster. So there's the cost of broadband churn, which could be significant. So existing customers that you have on broadband are 50% likely to buy new services from you, like video. So we're focused on, they're more likely to buy video from you than a different source. The cost of losing a customer revenue is maximized by replacement cost. And then there's always the risk of your reputation. 84% of internet traffic is video, and it's growing 25% annually. So video maximizes your broadband usage and your experience. So we think it's a perfect complement to your broadband offering, as long as you've got the right solution, right? TV is evolving to streaming. So Dave Sill will speak to this. So very recently, July 2023, according to Nielsen, streaming has surpassed traditional TV, and it's growing at 9% a year. There's other additional revenue models like fast channels where you can get some rev share, and the upside is fairly significant, $5 billion this year. 93% of households have at least one streaming service. And as you've already heard from me, we think video can maximize the entire broadband experience. They're more likely to buy video from you versus going to a third party. So I'm going to let Dave Hunt speak to this slide. It's the high-level architecture. So Dave, why don't you take it away?
Hey, thanks, Derek. So the slide has a number of things that I'd like to touch on. The large diagram at the bottom is really what it looks like to install a full IPTV, either multicast or streaming service. So there's a lot of components involved in there. And if you only focus on two aspects and look at the impact of those two aspects, you absolutely understand why these days it's tough to make money. So if you build your own head end, which has been up until 3 or 4 years ago what you needed to do, you needed to put up satellite receivers, you needed to put up antennas to take in local programming, you needed to have IRDs to go and take that content and then put it into a format that you can then deliver to encoders, which then go into equipment that will do video stream processing, and then a whole middleware stack as well as storage so that you can then deliver services, add program information in. Not unusual even today for just the implementation of that to cost close to $2 million. At the far end, traditional set-top boxes cost anywhere between $100 and $300 a piece. So you've just invested $1 to $2 million on a head end. You're now going to invest $150, $200, $300 on set-top boxes. Every home that you want to go to has multiple TVs. You end up with 2 or 3 set-top boxes. The average is just under 3 set-top boxes per home based a couple of years ago. So if you've got 1,000 homes, you have just put in $200,000 to $300,000 just for set-top boxes. So why is video becoming unprofitable? You've got those 2 monstrous sets of costs you need to depreciate before the equipment dies out. And then on top of that, you need to be able to pay for all of the content programming. So now you have customers that are looking at $100, $200, $300 bills. so that per month, so you can retire all this equipment. Tough to make a profit. What streaming has done is addressed, first of all, the set-top box problem. So you're no longer needing to get a $200 set-top box. In fact, as you probably can take from an earlier slide, most of your customers already have a streaming device. So they'll have an Amazon Fire Stick. They'll have a Android set-top box. They might have an Apple TV. So any one of these devices, a Roku. So they have bought it themselves. So you've just taken out a huge part of capital investment that you once had to have. What hosting does, which we're talking about today, is there are companies that will host all of that front end stuff. They've already invested $2 million or more. And what they're doing is they're saying, we built this for you. You and 50 other customers, operators, will help cover that. So instead of you as an individual operator trying to retire $2 million investment, it's you and 50 others that are trying to retire a $2 million investment. On top of that, the operational complexity of you having people trained to manage video, do contracts, all of that kind of stuff is now spread across multiple operators by the hosting partners. On our side, we are fundamentally a middleware company. So our software does the program channel management, subscriber, subscription, encryption, all of that kind of stuff. Well, now our single instance of middleware is now supporting not one, but 50 operators. So you now have the opportunity to see a substantial reduction in your cost to your subscribers. I'll give you some numbers to show the kind of impact. I've given you, if you built your own head end today, giving you an idea for that. So if you go to a hosting, and there's a number of hosting providers we work with, so there's no one number I can give you, but I can give you a range. You can install an appliance in your network and turn up service for say $25,000. And that could go up depending what you want, depending who you go with, to 75 or 100. And it's really, do I want things like redundancy for content? Do I want a large channel lineup? Do I want to create my own channels? So think of this as a buffet as to what you want, and that's what you're going to pay. Per a monthly, you will work with the hosting partner to have the content delivered to you, and that's the big the soccer ball like. So they will have a point of presence. You have a point, and so you're going to cross connect to them somewhere. So that'll cost anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month. Depends on the size of the pipe, depends on how close you meet, and who you're working with and what kind of networking arrangements they have. On a per sub basis, you'll pay anywhere between say $7 to $15 or $18, again, depending who you're working with, what they're doing for you. So it's a pretty straightforward model. One of your subscribers has an issue, they're going to phone your customer service. It's a video issue. You can decide to say, you know what, my hosting provider who's going to handle all of this. Or you can say, I'm going to do tier 1 because they're my customer, then I will call my hosting. There's a large range that you customize to what you want to do. I want to do no work, or I want to do about 20% of the work or 30% of the work. But all of the complexity, all of the management's built into what the hosting partner provides to you. In terms of contracts, if you want to offer video, traditional linear video, There's a whole bunch of contracts. We've all heard about Fox and Turner. We've all read, I'm sure, about ESPN and Charter's issues. Well, all of those you can manage, or you can turn it over to a hosting provider and they will do it. Some of them already have rights. They've taken care of it. So we have one customer of ours that is hosting. They have about 30 companies that are operators, ISPs, municipalities, utilities, and yes, some WISPs. And they have their own branded app. Our hosting customer, and we actually have two, they handle everything. So if a customer complains, a ticket is opened up with them. So there's that. Two, I am an NCTC member, I want to be, I'd like to get my own rights, and we have solutions for that. So you've got the ability to choose the way you want to deliver, the price point you want to deliver, and what you want to deliver. I only want to do Roku. I only want to do Android. I only want to do iOS. I want to do everything. That is a choice that you just make. And if you change your mind, you can change your mind. You get to have local focus this way. So you can incorporate local sports, local news, local events. You might be in an area that has a lot of MDUs, or you might have some recreational properties where you want cameras to be incorporated in. So I want to see what the weather's like on this mountain. All of that you can do together with the hosting partner. You've got an opportunity for customizing the way you present. There's not one right solution. So you might want to use fast channels, or you might want to do just local advertising. You might want to have different levels of DVR. When you get our service, my branded app, Dave's ISP. When someone gets that app, they automatically get 50 hours of DVR. But for another $5 a month, you can get 150 hours of DVR. You get to customize that way. The hosting partner and ourselves take care of everything behind the scenes. So we get the apps developed, we publish them under your name, we work with you so it's the way you want it to. So really your involvement can be as little as saying, I want these apps and I want them to be on these platforms. That could be the only involvement you decide to have. All of these solutions also can be tied into your billing and provisioning systems. So the same way you add another broadband customer, you can say, would you like video with that? And if they say yes, because of our ability to integrate with pretty much any billing and provisioning system that exists, that flows through to everything that we do. So it simplifies all that complexity to people that just focus on that, and lets you really just sell apps, and in selling apps, drive the demand for more and more bandwidth, which is driving your most profitable service. And that's all I got to say about that.
Okay, thanks, Dave. All right, so this is really a summary slide of our end-to-end solution. So really it's plug and play, what we're proposing. And this is something that's going to dramatically reduce your cost, both on the CapEx and OpEx sides. Quick time to market. Once we come to terms, sign the contract, within a couple weeks, you get the branded app for you to test with your employees, some friendlies, and you're off and running in 3 to 4 weeks. So as we touched upon repeatedly, it's simple for you because we handle most of the operational complexity. Our subscriber management, content management system, yes, we'll run it, but of course you can make changes to it. You'll know how to use it, and we'll provide training on that. So this is your own brand that's on this app. I don't know if you noticed the Socket TV logo within the demo that I gave, but it's present. So Your subs will know the video is coming from you and nobody else. So we think this is really the way to maximize your broadband revenue, increase stickiness, and reduce churn. So this is one bill, right? Internet and video on one bill makes it easy for your subs. I demonstrated the premium features that we offer: NPVR, catch up, start over. We also support, pay-per-view events, letting the sub buy premium tiers, so you can have those upsell packages. We mentioned the subscriber provisioning for different channel lineups and packages. You have your basic, your platinum, your gold offerings, sports packages. And we already mentioned all the different devices that we support. Bring your own devices. Everyone you can think of that's popular: Fire Stick, Apple TV, iOS and Android mobile, Roku, LG and Samsung smart TVs. They're coming very soon. And we currently also support desktop browsers, all the main ones. And any Android managed set-top box that has a recent Android OS on it, we support as well. And those are really for subs that are demanding a full-featured remote control, voice command features on the Android device. So that one's a little bit more expensive, but you have that option as well. There's a certain segment of your subscriber base, maybe some of the elderly would prefer that solution. Of course, we support emergency alerts on all devices. And Dave mentioned the billing integration. We support any billing system, legacy billing system you have with our standard APIs. And Dave touched upon this one. So hyperlocal content. Think, in some regions, high school football is more important than anything, right? So it'd be great to provide a virtual channel within the guide that has your local high school football games, or a front gate camera. So you can map those to the program guide. World-class support. We've got 100 satisfied customers that would agree. And the pricing structure is fairly simple. So we would provide the all-inclusive pricing that included our partners that Dave mentioned previously for the end-to-end solution. So essentially a startup fee and then a monthly per sub license fee. And if we have follow-up meetings with some of you after this, we can sign an NDA and discuss further the details around pricing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our customer, David Sill. Dave, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. So just a brief introduction. My name is Dave Sill. I'm the IT director at Intracom Telecom. We're located in Columbia, Missouri. I've been in the industry about 25 years, and I've spent the last 10 years or so working on IPTV with Intracom. So we're not a WISP, but we have about 55,000 residential fiber passings and about 16,000 residential fiber customers. And about 1,000 of those fiber customers have our TV service. So let's see here. I think Dave and Derek actually did a great job making the case for streaming, but I kind of want to talk about our story and how we got to TV and then how we got from traditional TV to streaming TV. So our original IPTV system, which is still in operation, was part of a triple play offering for an RUS project. This was in 2012, and we had an older demographic. It was a rural area. We knew that the folks that we were talking to were going to be less likely to be cord cutters. And we also thought that adding services like TV and voice were going to make our internet service more sticky. So we thought that would reduce churn. So at the time, doing the packaged service, the whole service where you can buy the entire stack of satellite dishes and satellite receivers and all of this as a service, we built our own head end, our own satellite reception facility. And I can attest to Dave Hunt's $2 million number. That's about what we spent on it. It was a big investment. We went with Intracom's middleware. Intracom made a lot more sense to us than the competitors we looked at, and we looked at all the competitors at the time. The barrier to entry was low. They were really responsive, and they worked with us closely as we built our system up. And they were easy to integrate with our BSS, OSS. So the choice was really pretty easy as far as our IPTV middleware went. Another note, we started off with on-premise DVR, and then we pretty quickly moved on to using Intracom's network DVR solution. It scaled better and was a lot easier for us to maintain than a whole bunch of hard drives out in the field. By the way, we charge for that DVR service, and also TVs beyond the first TV. So those are central in making this a very profitable product. Mentioning Restart Live, our customers love that. We're not selling it as a separate add-on today, but it is a very sticky feature. So anyway, we use this traditional IPTV system with multicast distribution for several years, and it worked well for us. Then in 2019, Dave Hunt came to me and said, we have a streaming product now. We demoed it. We liked the potential. What we had was working, and we didn't see an immediate need for it. And then 2020 came, and the pandemic. We started growing rapidly, like I'm sure a lot of you did, and expanding geographically. And then, we can no longer get into customers' houses safely to wire up our set-top boxes. Our installers had to travel further to do these long TV installs in our newer outlying markets. We tried to use Wi-Fi set-top boxes, but they had performance issues with multicast. We started having trouble finding the set-top boxes we were using at the time, and the newer models were more expensive. And then also we started noticing that our multicast distribution was really sensitive to congestion, and our outlying markets were having video quality issues creep in when we didn't own the backhaul, which a lot of the time we didn't. So, ultimately, the questions we had and the needs we had were, we needed to drive costs down and we needed to drive profits up. We needed a viable self-install option for our TV service, and we needed to get to cheaper set-top units. So we talked to Intracom again, and we got serious about streaming. So we stood up the additional systems that were needed. In our case, on an on-premise solution, it was really just a few additional servers. We found some Android TV sticks that cost us $20 instead of $100 or more for those traditional set tops. And then we also decided we would allow customers to bring their own device, their own Android or Fire device if they wanted to, although most people don't, which is great. That's more revenue for us. Then we worked with our marketing team and with Intracom, and we designed some self-install guides with a lot of pictures and step-by-step instructions. And then we went live. And instead of running Cat5 run to every TV in every house, we used Wi-Fi. And since it was unicast and Android, it just worked. Our installers could hand off the Android stick at the front door with a mask on after they had installed the internet service. Customers felt safer. Instead of rolling a truck to add TV for existing internet customers, we just shipped them an Android stick and an installation guide. And that was it. Now our extra set-top boxes, beyond that first set-top box we include, they pay for themselves in 3 months. So we're even more profitable than we were before. We see some additional calls to tech support when we do a new setup because the technician wasn't there on site helping the customer. But overall, those installation costs have decreased drastically. Another benefit, customers have their live TV and their Netflix on the same device. They love that. And we're still operating our traditional TV system, but when a traditional TV customer calls in, we switch them to streaming and call it a day. And we're up to about 2/3 of our TV customers being on streaming today, and we're working towards 100%. When we do that, we'll be able to shut down a number of servers and save maintenance costs and save electricity, et cetera. So the whole streaming operation has been a win for us. And really our next step is looking at a hosted model, the model that Dave has been talking about here. We have a big investment in our infrastructure around TV, obviously, but the world has changed. Our gear is aging, and it's a lot of maintenance, and we just think it's the next step. So we're in conversations with some of Intracom's partners now. So that's our story in a nutshell. I would definitely recommend anyone getting into the game at this point to go with streaming and to go with a hosted model out of the gate. And we've been very happy with Intracom and can wholeheartedly recommend them as well. So I think that is about what I have to say.
All right, Derek, this is Mike Wendy. Let's jump into questions. We have a number of them, and we're going to try.
Yeah. First, I was muted. Sorry. Thank you, Dave.
Yes, thanks, Dave. We got a number of questions, so let's try to get through these as quickly as possible. Obviously, this competes with cable. Are there other competitors in the marketplace that you differentiate against?
So yeah, it's really cable. We don't really run up against a lot of other IPTV providers. And then, really for us, choosing our markets is about understanding where we have those strong cable competitors as well, just on the internet side. So we don't really look at differentiating our TV against the cable providers. It's more about differentiating our internet product. And then we have the TV as an add-on.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, so here's another one. How many users for one account is it? I'm sure it's maybe it's a more difficult question than just that, but how many?
Sure. So that is actually, and Dave Hunt, if you want to answer that, you're welcome to.
Sure. So it's configurable. There's two key characteristics that you as an operator can set. So you can set the number of users, and there's no, generally we say do 3 or 4 just for management. There's no right or wrong about that. It gives you an opportunity to maybe upsell a bit. And in terms of actual devices, again, that is something that you can define. The typical way we do it for coming out of the gate with each new provider is it's usually 3 or 4 unique users, and then probably something like 20 or 30 devices. But again, you can set that in a way so that you can say you can get 10 devices. And then if you want 15 devices, it's going to be another $5 a month. And devices can always be removed. So if you have, say you have 5 Rokus and 5 Fire Sticks, and somebody gets a new Fire Stick and they want to add that Fire Stick, it says, okay, you've reached your limit. Which Fire Stick, which device do you want to delete? Or they say, oh, gee, we use them all. You phone in and say, I'd like to add some more. Well, we can give you another 5 devices for $5.
Good answer. This is a common question throughout all the questions, especially with WISPs and many WISPs and capacity constraints. So what's the needed speed for streaming?
So Dave Sill can probably answer this as well, but because it's unicast, within your network, you can assume that you're looking at about a 5 megabit to 7 megabit stream. A 7 meg stream will give you HD quality on a 70-inch TV. So if you're using that. Now, we also apply, and it's, again, hosting partner dependent as to what they do. So you can have multiple streams at different speeds, and all of the devices are able to switch to different speeds, so you continue watching TV, but perhaps at a lesser or greater. So for instance, you can have 4 speeds. You can have a 2 meg, 4 meg, 6 meg, and 8 meg stream. And if you've got the bandwidth and the devices sense that, it'll do the 8 meg, always goes up to the highest. And somebody else joins and you're starting to reach the bandwidth available. Well, the new one may start at 2 and the one that's already on may drop to 6. And it does this dynamically. So think 3 TVs, think 5 megabits for high quality and all those TVs in a house, 15 megabits. Dave, you may have some more to add on that.
No, absolutely. I would echo that. We actually use 2 profiles, and I believe we're at 4 megabits and 7.5 megabits. But of course, we're a fiber ISP, so we have some kind of different constraints than a WISP would. So we could certainly do with a little bit less bandwidth per channel.
All right, let's move along here. And you mentioned local channels, and I think that's an exciting feature. I have that question, but with Puerto Rico as the context, is there anything special there?
So nothing special per se. In fact, one of our colleagues is right now in Puerto Rico working on some wireless stuff. The biggest issue around local is getting permission for retransmission. And the great thing about our partners is a number of them work in the Caribbean and in that whole area, so they understand Puerto Rico and its unique needs and can get local retransmission rights. So that's actually one of those things you have expertise within our hosting providers.
All right, so this is kind of a follow-on to and sort of a sub-question to that. The question is, can we integrate local channels into the system, but you are the sort of the actor there, right? Or is it configurable so that someone could do it on their own?
So the quick answer is you can do it on your own. We've got some pretty forgiving management interfaces to let you do that. And it really then becomes an issue of, do you want to do it yourself, or do you want to say, I've got these channels, can you do it? The web interface to add a channel and put it is I don't know if it's fair to ask you, Dave, if it's easy, because you live that world, and so what might be very easy to you challenges me.
Even I could do it.
That's good. I mean, you mentioned also at the top you can add stuff like putting a camera on the mountaintop to look at weather or traffic or that kind of thing. But then in terms of programming, it's not as hard as sold, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's so part of what what you receive is when you sign up, and essentially what we do, all of our hosting partners for the middleware portion, we partition a hosted system. So you actually have what looks like to you is an entire system for managing your TV. Part of that is a metadata editor. And that metadata editor then lets you say, okay, I've got my channel. Now this is what I want to talk about my channel. One of our hosting customers actually does a bunch of cameras called Beach TV all around Florida. So, and then they enter the metadata as they see fit, either manually or they update it through a number of bulk import tools if they want to do multiple channels at a time.
Okay. Here's one. Do you provide a local cache for the streams?
That is optional, and so that is generally included in the range of setup costs, install costs that I had alluded to earlier. Sometimes if you're a very small WISP, you don't need it, but what the cache does is it allows you as an inverse multiplexer. I'm starting to show my age. as an inverse multiplexer, you get one stream of, say, Fox News, and 50 people are watching it. 50 streams are produced within, and it's a pretty low end appliance. If you don't have a lot to start with, you don't need to add that appliance to begin with.
Okay. For the gamers, and I'm going to combine a question here. Can you stream from a game console? And then let's go on to this one too. Is this app available on any native smart TV OS and streaming platforms like Roku? So I think, go ahead.
Yeah, so we would treat game streaming as an origin server, as an origin point, and so yes, it can. Not as, and it really depends on the format you're streaming in. So if it's at like MPEG 4, for instance, MPEG 5, that's fine, H.265. So that's a gaming platform specific question. We haven't come across anything we can't. To the streaming devices, all of the stream devices, we used to have a native app on both Samsung and LG, and all it did was cause problems for people that were using it because their app environments were horrible. They seem to have improved, and we'll be introducing them reintroducing them at the end of this year.
All right. Max, how many channels can you provide?
Is that a question about capacity, or is that a question about what typically is done?
I think like ESPN, Fox, how much of that can be aggregated in, let's say I want to buy the whole package, as much as I can swallow.
So one of our customers, Zito Media, has 460 channels.
Oh, I mean, that's as big as any cable provider. I mean, or bigger.
And that's across 18 states and 36 markets out of one location, out of one middleware location.
Wow. Here's a technical question. What format do you need content delivered to your middleware?
So that's more a video path question, and it kind of depends on the partner. Typically, it's going to be H.264, H.265, 4K. Not really any 4K out there right now. On an MPEG 2 transport stream, that's the most typical. We can take HLS in. We can take Dash. There's the most common is MPEG 4 on an MPEG 2 transport stream.
All right. The billing question. So the billing system integration, is that treating your system like a provisioning system? Then when ordered, we push the information needed downstream to you?
That's correct. You would push the information to us. We have a full set of APIs, and basically we treat you as pushing to us.
All right.
And then you pulling call detailed records from us.
And Dave, so I would add, maybe there's still the decision hasn't been finalized by the operator which billing system they want to use. Our head-end management tool can support launching, and then you can kind of phase in later which billing system you want to use.
And Dave, maybe you could speak to this a bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We started out exactly the way Derek just mentioned. We started out manually provisioning our customers. We started small, and then we did an integration with the Intracom API to actually do automated provisioning out of our BSS OSS system. So as we take a customer order and the order flows through our system, it actually makes an API call to set up the user and give them the appropriate bouquet of channels. and features. And then we actually can go back in and turn the service off automatically, and we could do other things, but today we are not allowing folks to use their remote to sign up for additional services, although I believe that is an option. And then pulling that information back out to our billing system.
Okay, here's another one. Are the streams possible to individualize per subscriber? And I think this also, there's a general theme in some of these. How do you develop the packages? Or are there packages sort of?
So to the stream question itself, I think the question is, can I give a subscriber a maximum of 5 concurrent streams, for instance? And the answer to that is that wasn't the initial design. That has been a number of requests, and that specific capability will be coming out either the end of this year or first release next year. To the packages, every operator, so you will has a dedicated partition, and within that partition, you can create the packages however you want. There's not a single package that is delivered. All that's delivered to you is access to streams, and then you create your own packages that you want within the guidelines of what the content providers, NBCU, Fox, Turner, ESPN, Disney, allow. But within that, you can create your own packages, as many as you want. You can create unique packages for each what's called a DMA, every set of locals that's different. All of that is completely managed by you.
Yeah, and for example, you can create a package, basic package with no DVR, no recording allowed. Upsell the DVR package, add premium tier, add a sports tier, and that's all set up through our cloud-based management tool that we would train everyone how to use.
Have an interesting one here, and I guess it's a branding question in a sense. Could I sell to customers who don't have my internet?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Now, I say yes, but then again, as I mentioned earlier, we have several providers, partners, and so you need to work with the right one that has the applicable rights. For instance, some channels don't require you to be on a closed network. Some do. So there's nuance there, but that's nuance around your business and who you choose as a provider.
All right. I'm going to combine a question here. Curious about scalability for smaller WISPs. And sort of the bookend to this, I'm a small company. Is this right for me?
The smallest company that we have direct has about 150 subscribers. Obviously, the larger ones have tens of thousands, but the smallest one has about 150. And with streaming and with this hosting initiative, we are targeting the low end specifically.
The small provider.
Correct.
Yes.
And when I say low end, I mean low number of subscribers,
Sure.
Not the tens of thousands.
I mean, that's primarily why we're focused on the hosted solution at this point, because we realize this market has a lot of those folks, those operators, that size.
Final question. ESPN goes sideways. Who does a customer call? How does that get dealt with?
You will call the provider that's hosting, our provider that's hosting. That's who you call. There will be no surprises typically, because they are aggregating a lot of operators and they have direct relationships with all of the content providers. So they will know in advance of what's happening, where something may be going south. So there's not going to be surprises. The only surprise you'll get is if all of a sudden there's a monster winter storm and their dishes are covered with snow. But in terms of contractual issues, these things happen in relatively slow speed. And Dave, maybe you can talk your experience there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say this is a key piece of the decision to go with a hosted provider. As someone that runs my own head end, I can tell you that there is a lot of sweeping snow off of dishes and checking IRDs because a channel went offline, dealing with 5G interference, that sort of thing. So this is a big benefit of the hosted model is letting someone else deal with the minutia of that, someone that's an expert. So.
Yeah, and on the contract side, this is their business. And I'm trying to remember when the last time, I don't think anybody has ever been surprised of our customers since we've been doing this 2003, that it has been a surprise. And we have mechanisms in place. I think, for instance, I'm not sure if it was you, Dave, but somebody actually put up a screen on the I think it may have been ESPN, I'm not sure, that said, hey, contract negotiations, these guys are demanding it. We'll let you know as soon as they decide to cut a deal.
We have been very close to that, but have not actually ever had to put up a screen saying that we were in contract negotiations. So.
Good. Well, that's the end of the questions. Do any of you have any final words you want to say before we sign off here?
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you, everyone, for attending. We know your time is valuable. And if you're you see our emails here on the screen, so please reach out to myself, Dave Hunt, or Dave Sill if you have any further questions. And as I mentioned before, if we set up a follow-up call, we can get into all the details of your needs and then how we would price that out for you. And please, if you're coming to the show, please check out our booth, 335. Wispapalooza, here we come.
Well, hey, I thank you for that because we're going to have an exciting show and you're part of that. And that's what makes the show so great. All these choices out there. So I'd like to reiterate what Derek just said. Thank you for attending. Again, if you have any questions, please use the contact information there from Derek and the two Daves. You can also drop a line to me, Mike Wendy at WISPA, mwendy@wispa.org. And so this concludes our presentation. Again, thanks and have a great day.
Thank you all.